I'm gonna have to check out the channel, boy. Okay, you're professing and claiming a whole lot, but I don't see nothing. There's always some. Okay, if you say so. I don't see. No, man, you cloud chasing, brother. Where you from, man? Where do they get these niggas from? No, man. Neither. A Masterpiece Arms Grim Reaper with a fake silencer for the look. Yeah, whatever, bro. Some people are stupid. There's nothing we can do about that. Yeah. I'm trying to get my tea right. Oh, God. Always take your shoes off, trust me. What's up, Papa? What you doing? What's up, Papa? What's up, Papa? I need that. Oh, shit. Oh, I'm sore. Stop looking all crazy, man. I'm sore, bro. I'm hurt. Shit. I'm not working out, bro. Man. Hurt. Sore, bro. Oh. Hey, what's up, Papa? Yeah. I'm sore. All that stretching. Yeah, I'm sore. Yeah. Window's wide open. Go jump in the window. You're not getting no more. Look how big you is. All right, here, you can get some of this. That's it. And you get like 7 pieces. Yeah, you can look all crazy all you want. I'm supposed to be eating right now. Just 2 meals a day ain't gonna cut it today. It's right here on that thing. Right, there you go. You got 12, it look like. That's enough. No more. You gotta clean up your strawberries, boy. Boy. I gotta clean off this strawberries. Make sure this is all the way up. Needs to be charged. So grand elevations, everybody. How's everybody doing? I didn't go back to sleep, y'all. I laid back down. I attempted to go back to sleep, and I was tossing, laying there on my back. I was calm, but I was just like, I think I went to bed around about like 9:30, 10. So that's more than enough, I guess. About 6.5, 7. I don't 6.5. I mean, it beats 2 hours, right? I got over 20-something years with like 1 hour, no. Sometimes go on a day without, a whole 2 days without sleep, yo. So it's better now. This thing's making like a nuclear furnace, bro. You want some of that? You want some of that? It's cleaned out. Go on. If you gotta drop one, drop it like it's hot. Get away from the chocolate. Get away from the chocolate, cuz. He acting like an alley cat, y'all. Come on. No nails, bro. No nails are getting big, man. I don't clip like that. He walking away, he had another look back. He be cracking me up, yo. He be cracking me up. See, I like it to be natural. Everybody's being all in natural. 10:13. I meant to come on an hour ago, man. I apologize, you guys. I had to take care of a few things. Get a laundry, get a wash the laundry going, and clear this kitty box. A couple other things. Let's go ahead and just get started because I'm gonna listen to music. This is like 24-hour jazz, lofty, no copyright. What is it? Excuse me, no copyright jazz music for work, study, and relaxation. I've been listening to it all since I woke up. It's been 4 hours and 47 minutes and 14 seconds it's been playing. So it's live. So I really enjoy it. And when I lay my head down, a lot of times I put on, like I said, 7.38 gigahertz. 7.38 gigahertz. Black screen. They also have the ambient with the rain background music, which is to elevate. The thing is, like, I'm not using the surround sound because the surround sound speakers, there's something they did where you're not getting that frequency. You're getting something that's closer to what's coming out on the radio, like 440 hertz or gigahertz, which is binarily destructive. And if that doesn't allude to something, what does it allude to? I mean, you see the picture, right? Reason why I've got this, I went out there to see him, right? And when the sun was at roughly at about the 9:45 position, because I always look at it, and then I do this, where I do this exercise, and it's good to at least be out there about 30 minutes when the blue sky, to allow your eyes to breathe and to visual, perception, to increase. Exercise for your eyes, guys, and to do this. And what that's doing is exercising. Your eye is a muscle like anything, energy. Everything is energy. So I have a premonition while I was asleep, while I was slumbering or rest. Recharging. And I was thinking about the bombs that I was ordnance, bombs and weapons, everything I worked with. It didn't matter, it was PRP, nukes, whatever, right? And I was thinking about how they have us believing in this neurons, protons, electrons. That's false. You know what the real truth of an electron is? It's just a frequency. It's sound. That's all it is. The neurons, though we see it, we're physical energy. We're vibration. And the Lord spake, and man spoke the word. I spoke, and it was light. I spoke, and it was light. I'm not using, the word Lord, it alludes to something else. It's because of the worshiping gene that's been put in many of us, that we cannot cross it and knock it out. We're energy. I watched this test last night, or was it this AM or last night, whatever, and where they took these small, solid pieces of material and with sound in this funnel, because they had to be controlled. It could have been done outside. They might have went all over the place and took off, and they levitated. There was no energy like what we perceive. They made us perceive energy to be. It was sound. When I made a friend, and I had everybody in class do it with me, I had brought in this flat cinder block for masonry, like for gardening, concrete or whatever, concrete, cinder, whatever, how it was made, and we were doing the welding and all that, the burring, flux, and silk, not welding but soldering. And I took a big round copper tube, I think it was about 8, And I said in the middle, I says, I want you guys to come around, and I want you guys to just like that. And they said, what, like bourbon out your mouth, like farting out your mouth, whatever you want to call it, just do this with me. So I had them get around the table, and more came around, and my ears felt like they want to explode, because some people had deeper voices than me, and some had some high ones, and we was like, it took us like, and the teacher was watching. We didn't have class today. We all around this thing, and we're standing. You can feel people's arms getting chilled and warm at the same time, like, and we were and the thing started vibrating and cutting into the concrete, and even the teacher was like, and I said, okay, that's cool. And so it made a little indentation in the concrete. I just bought it down the street, 14th Street, you know, not 14th, but Apex. Apex is off 14th, right? No. Avenue of America, excuse me. What you call it, Walden's bookstore, whatever that bookstore is, on the right side. Apex on the same side. The building where I did naked yoga and Krav Maga was across the street from it. So it's right there on the corner, you know, and you go around the side to go on the, you know. And we did it. We made the copper, the brass, like move, oscillate. And actually, instead of coming up, which I thought was going to happen, you know, it was cutting into the concrete. So when I tell you that this is all sound, is energy. So when a bomb blows up, we see movies and we attribute it to the shrapnel, the metal, right? We don't attribute it to the energy, compression and explosion. And we see it in such a massive rate, and depending on whether it's TNT, tetranitritol, or whatever it may be, right? Whatever explosive compound, that only causes an expansion of the energy and the release of it on a different magnitude, which is more physical, but deemed by energy. I'm telling you, you're capable of that with this. Now, as correcting certain things, I believe it takes, we use the word shaman, right? Somebody in the knowledge of certain herbs and sounds and chants to heal certain things. We've been made to believe that it's this so-called petroleum-based medicine, synthesized stuff. All that does is distract the body's powers from actually healing. Now, this, I'm not giving out false information of medicine, this, that, and other. That's not what I do. I'm talking about it from the spectrum of a medicine man. So the reality is, any issue I've ever had, there was always a natural way to deal with it. And we have given way to a very short time, coming from the 40s or something like that, or 50s, David Rockefeller, oil, finding the petroleum base by extract because of the scientists and being led. They didn't do this on their own. And to take that and synthesize it with our natural herbs that led a lot of people to live a very long time and heal. To create a base which established corporations to monetarily buy into. As far as the sickness and the perversions go, this is based on my own opinion and perception and perspective of what I've perceived from what I've learned, to further harm us from the inoculations, everything that we never needed for thousands of millennia. So all of a sudden, needing it now, and then to see what state we're in now. That's all I'm alluding to, based upon my opinion. I know y'all saw what I talked about. I don't recognize MDs and all that. I don't. There are so many natural herbalists out here, and even they had to build greenhouses, because it's not like you can walk out in the backyard unless you live in certain places where you can collect mushrooms, you know, the chicken mushroom, or, you know what I'm saying? And there are ways still to heal oneself. And what's troublesome from what I saw, we have people who live in these areas where these fallen trees, these mushrooms, not the ones that have the orange in it and stuff, those are deadly or can be used for other things. We are far out of that knowledge. But they have these things that grow in abundance. If they would only get the manuals, the books, and look at these things, go out in the backyard and with gloves on, mind you, and look at these things, cut them open and see what they really are and match them so they become visual, and
and speak it so they always remember it and share it with the next generation, because I think this stuff is important. We have quacks making bottled water, and it's the water that's out the tap. It's got all the stuff in it, the stuff that creates anxiety, this, that, and other. And the water treatment facilities, how can they tell you, oh yeah, you're probably gonna be drinking some this, that, and other? Well, why are you not getting water out the ocean and giving us fresh water? What is really going on? If we can take ships at sea and get water, distilled or fresh water out of the faucets on the ship, they're not recycling the people's urine and poop on the ship, the cooking water, or anything, because everybody is utilizing it. They're not flying in so-called PVC-free bottled water for anybody, unless they're doing it for the captain and the XO. I mean, it's unknown to us, and it's a possibility. Yet, we've seen the machines on the carriers and the big ships that can that purify the ocean water. So why are they having cesspools and recycling the water here when there's countries that's not doing it? There's countries where the CIA ain't flying over it and spraying sulfuric or whatever it is in the air. It serves no other purpose but a big experiment, which it should never be, because we're still here. Now, I know I've been dismissive. I am about certain things as far as ancestral on this land. Well, that's with knowledge. It's not meaning to harm or hurt anybody. You know, I'm looking at certain rich TV, all these different communities talking about, you know, what's going on with DJ. This one committed suicide. That regardless of what has happened. What is that going to do? What good is that going to do our people? What good is that going to do arguing at this, that, and be contentious about this, that, and other? I sent them a letter this morning because they said there's a dispute going on. I was telling them, what's the dispute? The copyright music, there's no copyright music. If it's in your YouTube studio, you're supposed to know it. I says, and then I asked them, why are you shadow banning? That goes against your standards, your community standards. That goes against y'all as well. And which called the other part. And I was like, it makes no sense to what you're doing. You know, unless you're part of the agenda. And if you're part of the agenda, for every action there's an opposite, and you can't stop it. So I always say, if you made peace with your maker, and you're just like, I'm gonna write it out, then that's on them. It makes absolutely no sense at all. But hey, look, we see CIA whistleblowers coming out the woodworks all of a sudden. They've been doing it, but like really, like a lot right now. Like, wow. Oh, and there's nobody's gonna tell them they ain't telling the truth. And they're kind of networking. So who's really, you know what I mean? But regardless of that, just say I'm gonna read The Navigator Across the Ice Walls, who didn't hear me read it before. If you didn't look at the video, which I'd appreciate people go and watch those videos, get the views up, so that way you can beat the algorithm. And I'm not an antagonist. I know I do. Look, when I say I'm worse, I'm very much worse. I can, like I said, I can get people over here and have people to me, we're coming to get you. I'll be like, yeah, right on. That's my bowling. Regardless of that life, that's not what it's about. It's to, like I stated a few times now, is to get you in here and then tell you that there's so much more you're capable of. So in a sense, it's the same way without being antagonistic. I'm not looking to go out and get on a comedy stage. And I did 3 years of stand-up comedy in the military. I'm not doing that. And that was for my friends, you know, my comrades, my associates, and, you know, drinkers. But as far as right now, the most important is that we elevate, because the enemy, I mean, they have things that you don't even know about. And I detest saying the enemy, and I hate it because it's a bad taste in my tongue, but they are. They are literally the enemies of all life. Everybody. It amazes me that nobody sees this. I'm like, wow, how? I looked at some comments, and trolls are just not even, they're not bad or worse, they're just stupid. Trolls are just the dumbest people on it. They're just the dumbest people on the planet. No, they literally are. They're like racists, just the dumb, they're not even alive. I believe the AI is taking over that and manipulating that to learn more and more and more. So that's why I always tell people, pay no mind to a troll. Just block and get rid of it. I don't care if it's 1,000,000 times. Just like don't even respond. If you feel a certain way, like you might say something, if it is not to nurture the others to look at that, then don't say nothing. Because the majority of us don't know how to respond to certain things. And we'll say something like me. I commented on a post saying, you know, these dirty cops attacking this vet in Colorado. I said, well, it was a while ago, these are pieces of scum. That's what they are. That costume don't mean nothing. It's showing the illusion perpetuated by a badge and a costume, but it shows the ignorance of the individuals hiding behind it. See, and that's what it does. And the system, how broken it is, because there's not one judge, a handful, but the majority. My godmother, Shirley Strickland, Ohio. You know, look at her cases if you want. There's not one, there's a few, but there's not, in the majority right now, one who's not corrupt and won't be honest with you. It's about revenue and how they perceive you. And they know better. They know. The majority have to know. And that shows how sick the system is. And it doesn't have to be that way. But see, the illusion is that they're going to be in a better place. That there's no God. Because they're asleep. But see, what they lack in responsibility, that something created us. However it may have manifested itself, or however something did. And we were always monogamous with this relationship we have with this earth. And it's been perverted. So I'm going to get back and read that. But I just wanted to drop that little bit of hinting, you know, just a little bit. Because it's just another thing to look at. We are energy. We are pure, we are from sound, vibration, harmony. There's a balance. And they disrupt that with everything you see out there. You know, they tell me this is what this is, but then they don't give you the binders, the fillers, where it was produced, the establishment. They just go, oh, that's the Department of Veteran Affairs. That's the doctor. The nurses, oh, primary care physician. They looked at you. Yeah, we're going to prescribe you this. What is that? Is that moral subjugation? Is that morality? Is that me coming out with this white thing and this stethoscope going, yes, and with pens? So what your husband or your wife or your child is suffering from is acute blah, 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 blah. So what we're going to do, we're going to prescribe these three right here. But did this individual create any of it? Did he seek something better or other? Or did he just want to stay with what he's been doing for the last, coming in, or from the last 15 to 20 something years? Or has that individual walked in other venues you know that's nothing about, and they accept it as life and death? Hey, look, we're going to do what we can. But in front of you, I have to put on a show to make sure you're comforted. It's the moral subjugation. Has it, the responsibility, has it disappeared? Because of, oh, we're a corporation. You know, we're Montefiore, so we're a corporation. We're the Department of Veteran Affairs of so and so and so. We're a corporation. What does that have to do with millions of veterans? What does that have to do with those people who believe they're patriots? What does that have to do with those people that subjugate somebody to their own will when their will is a perversion? What does that have to do with light, enlightenment? What does that have to do with zero frequency of vibration, the fact that people don't know they're enslaved? What does that have to do with people marginalize one another because the system is egregious? Why is it that the truth is coming out that it was made in China, but then there's something else questionable about it? And then why is everything going on over in China that's not going on nowhere else, but they want to implement that? They ran a test bed over in Australia and this and another, and the people that run down behind it as good, obedient slaves to back and support it. It makes no sense. I am the law. How can you be the law when you don't know the law? Where's that established at when you are vibrating at such a frequency so low? And then you have, that's like me telling people straight hair is not indigenous to America or the earth. That is, and the scientists and the doctors have all expressed it. That is, what is that? What is straight hair from, people? Like not having enough melanin on your eyes. I keep telling you, behind these brown eyes, y'all, we have color. There's other colors. All right? What is that called when a gene is corrupt? What is it? What is it? What is the word? And people can't accept it. Why all these rappers and stars and all that having these parties and you don't see no melanated sister? Well, what melanated man who's got himself together, who who wants to go through the vernacular of finding a broke sister to fix, or why is it the sister's pinned against the brother and they feel like, well, we need to be with other women? It's just a big ball of confusion and nobody's paying attention to it. It makes absolutely no sense. It is not energy. It is like the battery at a very low charge and nobody's recharging it, because it takes us to recharge it, and the system has made us incompatible for recharging, even though we're very compatible and we need each other to recharge. And if somebody's broken, homeless, and if somebody has it over here, I'm not saying go out there with your hands full of money and go block, because they're about to change that. And a lot of people don't know that. The system is broken and they know it. It's always been broken. It was always pitched against you. But people keep doing and slaving for the same thing, not paying attention to what these things are doing. That's like the power that not tapping in. How can I send energy your way on this beautiful earth that can connect us all, and you receive it if you're not unaware of your own energy? I can't just make it go in you, if I'm not knowledge to be able to do that. And then you get it and not understand what it is, you might just go on a rampage doing the same nonsense you've been doing with somebody with some shared energy. There's no moral subjugation. From the education system to the courts, the judge, all that. No system has no moral subjugation. There are individuals that work in these platforms who are good. And they in there and it's like the slave mentality. I've got to make a living, but there's some who know that they got to study what's going on. We don't know nothing about those individuals. The problem is you must tap into this light that is all throughout you. I'm looking here because it starts with changing your thinking. From thinking. You know what I'm saying? And then allowance, I had somebody comment on one of the gun about Charleston White shooting with, Mark Chopper and Bump Gunner and all those guys. This guy comes along and he said, oh yeah, Mac Man, that's my channel. I'm like, who is this idiot? And then I'm like, that looks like a Mac 10 or Mac 11. I'm not sure if it's a silencer, it could be a dud, but regardless, it doesn't matter. I mean, the guy's waited over a year. He's in Texas. He might actually have a silencer. This guy told me, oh, that's my channel. I don't see Charleston White nowhere on his page. So what kind of goofy Negro? This is what I'm talking about. When people do this stuff, it makes no sense. Hey, Moonfrey, I don't do birthdays, but I want to say a blissful solstice to you, or solar return. I really do. That means to self, all right? On this date, because I don't get into the birthday stuff. I don't believe in time. Ecliptical or elliptical. I just really don't. But yeah, y'all, it's her. The day of the year when she came into this world, whatever year that was. So anyway, if I'm correct. If I'm wrong, my apologies. But why do people do that? Why do people have to clout chase? Why do people have to build a platform based upon the hypocrisy of the lies we're living in, allude to this lie, and then forego teaching more lies? I'm here to tell you that, forget yesterday. I'm here to tell you that the temples are not what they were. I'm here to express to you that you have to be the temple of light. There are no more suits of armor we can wield. And where do you think they get Anakin, the Jedi, this lightsaber? We do not know how to wield that. We don't build that no more. We have foregone that. Now we must become the metachlorians. That means the universe, the souls, the avatar, the souls in the trees. It's always been in us, the universe. I could have put the one that's got the rainbow in the brain, looking at the side, showing you all the synapses and everything firing off. It's not about who we are anymore, because we don't know who we are. And I'm talking about beyond an engine, beyond some crayon colors, beyond man and woman. We are beyond that. How dare we allow an enemy through secrecy to convey another story of who we are, to determine, and I'm here to let you know that you're beyond that. I cannot give you a name. You are supposed to be order. Why is it so hard to say, wow, I'm supposed to be that? And then allow yourself to start becoming order. Has nothing to do with religion. So throw that off. Throw off that righteous yang and all that other stuff that still accumulates in you, because it is in you, put in you to keep you focused that way. Get rid of it. Know that you are all powerful no matter what's going on in you. And you could speak it away. As I say, every day I always say, I free this pattern from me that allows this experience and this condition. You must know that is steeped in relativity fact, even if you have this belief, but to be repetitive, just like learning how to ride a bike, learning your A through Z's, learning 1 to 10, and then the equations to break it down or add to it when it really means nothing. You must know that you are more than that. Those things are a diatribe to remove your light, to subjugate, to dismiss, to defy, to break down, all right? The light you are. And light is minuscule in this interpretation. And we can share this in an abundance. So what is stopping you? I turned on a thing to set it up. There's Ab TV. I'm not knocking them, bro. I'm cursing. I'm talking about rappers and what? It's no hate. It's all about love. I mean literally. And I was like, and I wasn't conflicted. I was like, when you put yourself on this high horse and everybody lifts you on a high horse, which is a false lift. It's a jack is what it is. And jacks break. They run with oil, lubricants and stuff like that, and materials that were formed from something else with no light in it. Even though it's energy, they break because there's no vibration or frequency that's solid in it. It doesn't give. It performs like a slave, a job that you have to operate. The energy has to make work. So it can't perform on its own to increase your energy. So, need I say more? So when people stop being bi-curious about the confusion and stop afflicting themselves by being bi-curious and start rationalizing with reason for moral subjugation, moral internment, instead of moral displacement. So you keep the moral stuff inside your internment instead of putting it everywhere else with a false ideology or false narrative as if you're really doing something worthwhile, or it's feeding those who don't know no better. That is not light sharing, or you're not a light bearer, nor are you being responsible. You are further filling and treating yourself to more responsibility, and you're not illuminating nothing. How can you come out of the shadows? You talk certain words because you've heard them, but you know nothing about it because you haven't steeped yourself in the science of it. When you're perpetuating the same system that is everywhere else, whether it's TMZ, BET, listen to all that. More programming, more channels, more false shamans and narratives, sages, to bring you stuff that is not worthy of you. When will you start becoming and being more worthy of what you really are, instead of subjugating yourself, as I said before, to things that have nothing to do with rationale, moral subjugation, or truth? Everything's steeped in a fiction that keeps you cut from the light of the earth, the light of the heavens, and it all being within you. To be that vice that separates and keeps you chemically decapitated, chemically lobotomized, and for male and female, chemically castrated. When will you become whole again? Let's get into reading. I wanted to read these again. I'm going to read them quite a bit. I've been on here, but just going to read this one. Let's turn this down a little more. Excuse me. I got to have this. Where's my, here we go. With the juice, actually. Usually I ate the skin, but I didn't put it in my sonic cleaner. And it's about charged up. Okay. Oh, it's my knife, right? I think I'm worried about that. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna have to eat a little flesh, just a little bit, not a lot of it. Since I've been fasting, I've been hungry, but I just don't want to eat a lot of fiber and you need it, guys, so eat it. I'm just doing something different. All right. All right, let me see here. Is it fully charged? Yeah, it's just about fully charged. All right, let's get into it. For those who are stuck with me when I read this before, excellent read. Second time around, you might hear more. This is the navigator who crossed the ice walls, worlds beyond Antarctica, nos confundum. And Sweden, Finland, or whatever, that means no confusion. Or in Spanish, nos confundum. Claudio Nocelli. It's in Spanish. I can read it to you in Spanish, which is quite beautiful if you ask me. But anyway, chapter 1 is to Antarctica. And in chapter 2 is the custodians. And in chapter 3, we have crossed the walls. So the navigator crossed the ice walls, worlds beyond Antarctica. And I'm going to show you a map that was brought by the daughter of Mr. Morse. Now, this map has been utilized everywhere, even by the UN. One particular part, which is on the UN map, our Earth. I'm serious. Before that, it didn't exist. In the time of this, in the period, yeah. So, the navigator who crossed the ice walls, and most people didn't know that. So, the map was obscured and hidden, actually. So, this individual went and did the research because of where he is. Chapter 1 of Antarctica. My name is William Morris, and the story that you are about to read, it is probably going to modify the current way of seeing the world. I know most of people will find it incredible, and believe me, even having experienced this adventure, having seen it with my own eyes and with all my senses, it was also incredible to myself. But the evidence is irrefutable for those who want to see it, and the memories indelible. Such evidence will be presented, and science will also change its perspective. Another path will be open in the human mind forever. Yes, I know. Don't worry about these. Human and all that stuff is loud. Let it ride. As for my person, he's not wrong. We are beasts. We are the hue of a man. We have not stepped into our woman, which is the same, y'all. Stepped into our true ordination. I didn't want to say ordain. Ordination. That means existence. As for my personal life, I was a member of the Continental Navy, as the American Naval Force was called in the Revolutionary War. I was married to Lucy, and we were thinking of enlarging the family, but the war postponed every plan, as it usually does. Yeah, it sure does. With that pain, that probably filled cutting the root of that shining tree that gives life to the garden, that immense pain that produces the move away from your loved ones and go to hell itself. There's a storm, man. I mean, I came back and made my first son that was taken. You know, his life was taken while he went to sleep in my arms, you know. One peaceful night after the surrender of Saratoga, we were sailing through the northern Atlantic Ocean, rounding the islands on our way to Charleston Harbor. The full moon was the only light that illuminated our way, and during that night, thousands of stories and anecdotes arose among the boys over a little whiskey to calm the anxieties of a war, a raw war. All war is raw. Even then, there was talk of James Cook's voyages and his obsession with crossing the Antarctic Circle. Y'all can look up James Cook. Although it was not clear who was behind his funding or why the obsession. As I was not well steeped in the subject, the talk had not captivated me enough. I did not pay much attention, and the boys went on with the stories. Captain Butler, well respected in the group, joined in the selling stories by commenting that it was possible that there was a passage somewhere in the polar circle, and that this passage could be connected to other worlds. He said it seriously, without a moment's hesitation. That's Captain Butler, people. My attention turned to him, and the 5 or 6 of us in that cabin were speechless listening to his story. We expected him to say that it was a joke, but that never happened. We could not believe that a captain was seriously telling that there could be lands behind the Antarctic Circle. Butler commented that he knew from good sources at the highest levels that they were researching and funding voyages to penetrate the harsh climate and barriers in the southern latitudes to find possible land and perhaps civilizations beyond the Antarctic continent, and that they were in a hurry to carry out these missions as many civilian navigators were circling the area and did not look favorably on anyone else coming along. A lot of ships are lost out there, y'all. Oh yeah, I've been around that area. Been around the Horn a couple of times. I don't know how we made it, but anyway, the story was even longer and in great detail. He also commented that he observed with his own eyes a map that indicated the coordinates that could be the opening of such a passage. And although he was stupefied by the story, and I think the others too, the fatigue and stress generated by a war conflict could not be wasted. It was the perfect moment of happiness that generates a breach of peace to be able to sleep a few hours. Time went by, and after the famous war, many of the ships used by the Continental Navy were rented, destroyed, captured, or sold. As at that time, I was a person of good economic standing, especially after a war that we could say triumphant, if after a war can be called so. That was in parentheses, my apologies. I made an offer for one of them and managed to keep it, although my colleagues always scoffed at me because of that. As they say, it was ridiculously high for such an old ship. Revolutionary War people. The idea of the exploration trip to the south after Butler's story generated even more interest for me to bid and keep the ship. Although it needed repairs, in parentheses, therefore some extra money, and I felt no guilt as I felt it as an investment. Although I did not know the real danger of such a trip, I needed to provide myself with great navigation instruments or equipment. Although Lucy was not happy about this plan, I was planning to leave Charleston by the end of November and head, with a few stops along the way, straight to the Antarctic continent. And his wife wasn't too happy with it. During the idea of forming the team, I talked to former colleagues. Some of them made the most ridiculous excuses, and I don't blame them either. The idea of such a trip was really not encouraging. Two of them, who were there that same night that Butler told the story, wanted to join as soon as I told them about the plan. But the most difficult part was to convince Butler, who had knowledge in navigation based on his experience in leadership, and also knew the coordinates where we should go. After gathering courage for a few weeks, I contacted the captain to tell him about my project and add him to the group. It was difficult to convince the captain of such a plan, and although in his voice I noticed some enthusiasm, he declined my offer, and it was like that for a while. Unexpectedly, on the morning of October 11th, he showed up at my home with another companion named Fent. Remember that name? He had maps that I had never seen and was full of documents that very few eyes had read. He told me that he accepted the deal, but that he was willing to understand that it could only be a one-way trip. Then I understood that we had to take this trip professionally. The adventure was about to begin. Chapter 2, The Custodians.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Who remembers me reading this? The Custodians of Time. And let me say this before I read the second chapter here. Do y'all remember I was telling y'all this is not fiction. I was talking about Anubis, but I was telling y'all about Albaboeth, Yahweh, the God who's fooling everybody. Okay, let's get into The Custodians, Chapter 2, same book, and it's by Claudio Nocelli. After such a phrase from the captain, we finalized details and agreed on a departure date. It would be November 14th. His mysterious partner, Fent, as he introduced himself, would also join the team. My boat would be ready even a month before, but they was in a rush. Those were days of much anxiety and little sleep, a lot of reading and meetings with the team about the trip we were planning. We fantasized about the most incredible adventures, but reality was about to surpass any possible fiction or imagination. On November 12th, just 2 days before leaving, Finn, in parentheses, Butler's partner, and showed up at my door with another man who looked even more mysterious than him, all dressed in black. Sounds familiar? And with a strange accent. He told me it was urgent and I made them enter my home. German accent. Finn had a briefcase, which he opened as soon as he entered, on top of a table. Inside there were many documents, and among them, he took out a kind of ancient manuscript and began to recite a part of it. Then, by demand, do you remember Heaven Bearers? Gentleman, the young man, the homegirl, reading a certain book in the language? Okay. Then by demand, I subscribed in major importance, here by desire of our lords, that the doors of knowledge be closed to those who refuse to be part of our glorious path and liberties granted. The text went on for several more lines, and then at the end, the so-called poem Regis was cited. As soon as he finished his reading, I commented that it seemed that he was in some kind of initiation rite. It was then when Finn commented, "Exactly, comrade. Precisely, those who did not pass this initiation are the marginalized. Better said, we are the marginalized." "Finn," I demanded, "please explain a little. I am not understanding anything. What does this text mean, and what does it have to do with our trip?" "Look," Finn commented, "I am going to explain a little of the situation. This manuscript belongs to the custodians, as we call them, or they call themselves, the sun gods, and they found out about your trip through Butler. The high spheres are aware of it, and it does not make them happy. This manuscript raises that they will not let anyone leave these lands by demand of the lords. The situation could not get any worse. An adventure that was already risky enough due to the harsh weather and everything that could happen to us due to natural events, now we were adding these unknown enemies." "Who are these custodians?" I asked. Finn went around in circles, and his strange friend opened his mouth for the first time, interrupting. He commented that these custodians were not happy about our trip, and that was the only thing they could tell me. Finn then suggested that we should cancel it, that it wasn't worth risking our lives. He said it with a threatening tone, mind you. That's when I then invited them to leave my house immediately. His strange friend looked at me defiantly, and they left. After a few minutes, I tried to communicate with Butler to ask him what was happening and comment on the situation of this strange visit. Butler never answered. Neither that day nor the following ones. I gathered the emergency team to analyze how to continue, and this travel plan was becoming dark and sinister. But an inner force, pushed me to continue. The passage to other lands was becoming even more real, but also more dangerous. I wish that inner voice in y'all would seek more light. I had to say that. We met with the whole team, and that's a good thing. We met with the whole team, and Butler was not there. Nobody knew about him for weeks. He was missing. I told him the whole sequence about the visit of Finn and his partner, also about the manuscript. Walter said he had heard something about the custodians, but he was not sure who they really were or if it was a secret organization. The situation was not at all encouraging. Butler did not show up, and the plan without him seemed impossible to carry out. Navigator, you remember. Captain. Besides the risk, it seemed to intel against an unknown organization that was chasing us without even having left the port. We made the decision to postpone the trip again until we would find Butler, and we would try again to find him at his home the next day. I prefer the word attempt. Trying doesn't have there's no trial in that anyway. As expected, we were unable to find Butler, and the chances of the trip were being destroyed by the minute, along with the concern of the captain's whereabouts. The team also communicated with other known people and members of the naval force, and nobody knew anything about him. It seemed as if he had been swallowed by the earth. Just disappeared, right? November 14th arrived. With the plan already canceled, someone knocked on my door, and to my total surprise, it was Captain Butler, with provisions maps, and everything necessary to leave. He commented to me as if it was nothing. "It is time to leave, comrade." They're probably hot on his butt. Anyway, you think? I asked him as many times as possible where he had gone, and I also had to explain to him the strange last 2 days that the whole team had spent. He looked at me very coldly and commented, "It was to be expected. I had to hide for security and priority to protect the documents needed for the plan, especially this map. While I was unfolding it on the table in my living room, it was huge. There was land I had never seen, before. Butler ordered me to assemble a team and that we had to leave today. I asked him if he knew the custodians, and he told me that there was a lot he had to tell. The story is not the one we were told, William, the creator of the pyramids. Listen, the story was not the one we were told. William, the creators of the pyramids and another race, as they also call them custodians, have no interest in us crossing the South Pole. He told me that they found out about our travel plan via Flint, Big Mouth anyway, who had betrayed him, and that the trip had to be made today, or we would never be able to make it. He also commented that we would have plenty of time later on to give me more details about all this once we were sailing. I hurried to gather the whole team, and once we were all together, we left the port of Charleston. We had a few stops before reaching the frozen areas of the South. Now, you need to remember what the war was all about, people. You gotta remember what it was about. And the parts people played in it, well, unknowingly. Willingly? No. When you do something unknowingly and not based upon your truth of will, you do it at the detriment of self without knowing that it plays a part in everybody's destruction. Chapter 3, we have crossed the walls. Now this is pretty nice. This chapter is pretty decent, y'all. It's about three pages. We set sail. Anybody that came in, this is what we're reading. We set sail last from Charleston Harbor. Captain Butler was leading this adventure that we calculated between a few stops to arrive with enough provisions. We would be reaching the cold Antarctic waters in about 140 to 150 days at the most. Okay, so a little over 3 months. Under 4 months. As we left, we all had a mixture of excitement and panic from everything we had experienced in the previous days. We were also not quite sure why Butler had hidden himself in this way. Had we become the enemies of a force we were going to be able to actually face? Butler also mentioned another race. What had we really gotten ourselves into? The days went by and everything was going very well. We had plenty of provisions and the companions were encouraging each other. Beyond some sporadic storms, the ship withstood the winds very well. When crossing the equator, that's me, we made some stops and stocked up again on the advice of the captain, who told us that the trip was going to be longer than we expected in the case of being able to cross the South Pole. We were able to bring some cases of bottles of alcohol, although the heat of the tropic at that time did not let us think clearly. It was known that times of darkness and cold in the black waters of the South were approaching. Y'all don't even want to know. Bruh. Going around the southernmost tip, past the islands. Anyway, the second night of leaving the last port straight to Antarctica, I was on deck looking at the horizon and thinking about this adventure. The memories came all together to my mind, everything I left behind, and if this turning against someone powerful was really worth it, I questioned. I had an inner fire of curiosity to know about this passage. If it was really possible to cross it, I wondered what would be behind. While all this was going through my mind, Butler approached. These were all questions that he was pumping himself. So know about this passage. Look, if it was really possible to cross it, I wondered what it would be behind. What would be behind? While all this was going through his mind, Butler approached him, right? Already cold, comrade. You can't imagine what awaits you then, he asked me. So you've been there? I asked again. Where do you mean? In the southern waters? Yes, of course, Butler affirmed. That story you were telling that night, was it about you? I was there, William. I saw that passage with my own eyes. That's why I'm wanted. All doubt left my mind. The captain then gave a clear version about his past voyage. The lights went on in me and illuminated all curiosity. I couldn't wait to fill him with questions, but he stopped me right there, almost as if reading my mind. Then he told me, don't worry, William, you will see it too. You will see what I saw with my eyes, and you won't believe it either. And I'm not just talking about the passage, but I won't talk about it until we can get there. The captain closed the conversation at the best moment. I had as many questions as the reader will have at this moment, and I assure you that they will be answered in due time. The intrigue ate me inside, and my face was the same tone as the reddish sun that began to appear on the horizon. Reddish sun. At 138 days, we were in the icy waters, and the southern difference was abysmal. The water was dark, and as dark as the waves that swung us from one side to the other. The storm that had been chasing us, there's no land, y'all. Anyway, had been chasing us for 8 days was getting worse. The captain was calm, and that gave us some security. But every time a wave crashed against our boat, in our minds, we could not remember the warm home we were leaving behind, But I was confident in this mission. I knew somehow that it was going to give us its fruits. I'm not saying there's no land, but when you get past all our Africa, Europe, and all that, and you get to the outer part, it becomes so dark out there. I mean, not the ocean that we go in your beach K and on out. Man, get that. That's a whole nother thing. That's why 4 pillars. Earth, ours, water, created the ice wall that used to be lands around us to connect to the other land. All right, we'll get into all that. Anyway, we crossed a huge mountain that we had as a reference, where warm and cold winds intermingled even under the snow. As strange as the waters we were sailing, it is very difficult to describe this place. It is simply unique. It has a beauty that enamors even being aware that a second is enough to end your life against the huge masses of ice floating around. Icebergs, people. We were now sailing parallel to a giant wall of ice that loomed. We calculated that it would be between 80 and 90 meters high. And in some places, there were peaks of even more height, but it was impossible to see it. The sleet could be seen up to a certain height that we noticed and caught our attention. In parentheses, y'all, except the captain who had already experienced. And is that reddish and yellow color that sometimes appear on the horizon, as if a ravenous fire of some forest was raging behind? Near the giant mountain, blocks of ice fell like absorbent cotton on a mattress of snow, forming a steep slope where the snow water melted and cascaded into the sea. An imposing image with this kind of reflection of fire behind. If this were portrayed in a painting, they would pay millions to have it. This view overwhelmed with a unique beauty and a sepulchral quiet or silence, accompanying the lonely boat that the team decided to name The Secret. The weather was inhospitable. It did not give us any respite, and the fight was deadly against the waves and the wind. The danger of collision against the great masses of ice and the water that fell on us like an eternal cry from the sky, we decided then to approach again to the enormous mountain. The strange heat emanating from the melting ice all around gave the strange appearance that it did not fit, that it should not be there, but it even seemed to generate a different climate. We decided with the captain to skirt it as much as possible. Skirt it along, the coastline. That's what it means to skirt. All right? As much as possible and investigate thoroughly this strange portion in front of the giant ice barriers. Butler shouted my name and called me on deck. A passage opened up between the giant frozen walls, and the happiness that enveloped us was unexplainable. But we knew that we would not be there for a long time. Butler did not hesitate for a second, and we were all stunned. The ship was heading that way. The captain seemed to know what he was doing and left the boat parallel to the promontory. And then a kind of current took us inside without even thinking twice. We were dragged by enormous force, and fear paralyzed us. We brushed the edges of that wall several times. All this panic lasted 3 or 4 minutes, but inside us it seemed to be eternal. Suddenly, and once we were sailing on this current that was dragging us, calm seemed to invade our surroundings. The storm ceased, and although the cold was still lashing, it was no longer overwhelming. We were in an inexplicable ecstasy. This narrow passage was opening more and more and gave way to an open sea. My eyes did not lie, although I doubted them several times. Ace, the guy who has the YouTube channel he makes a living off of, he just took for $15,000 a trip to the Antarctica. I don't know if the third or fourth part's up, but when he was out there walking, he's very winded, he's overweight. He took off most of his upper clothes when they got to an American post that was abandoned. Not abandoned, but wasn't being used until, I think it's going to be used some months away from now, reused again. And he's looking at all the stuff out there, and he's asking these foreigners, Swedes and this, that, and other, and besides the rich people who could afford the trip, is the earth flat? And they're laughing. Of course not. No, like as if they would tell him he should keep his mouth shut is what he should do. But anyway, Ace Live, watch it. He's out there now. And if that doesn't say something, yeah, it was cold pulling up. And though he walk around, he got there and he was walking, he was winded, and he removed his jacket and everything he got winded and hot. The captain shouted, "We made it, we made it." And we all celebrated with surprise and amazement. We were in waters that only very few reached, or so we thought at that moment at least. The dark waters began to clear and the ice walls were still visible, but were being lost in the distance. The sun that contemplated our feet was falling on the horizon. It was time to boast. We're going to finish it right here, and then we'll pick up. Maybe later we'll read the next 3 chapters. I gathered the team by decision of the captain, who called us all with some seriousness. He was going to make an important announcement. He began by saying that He began by saying that what he was going to comment was not about him, nor about the team, nor about the known earth we were leaving behind. It was about the whole of humanity and its past. The next chapter will be the war behind the walls. And it's going to be a good read. I'll put this in there. And you know what? Get something to eat. And I'm going to come back on and read that, because later on I want to get back into the other 2 books, Enoch, Flatlantis, and the Book of Giants. And then later on we'll go ahead and read Gatebearer, the Exposition, and Mudflood. And it all correlates. But reading this will give you a little more insight. That's why I'll come back and read this again. I'm going to eat something first. Excuse me. And that'll have a little more temper, because you're going to see something that's going to happen in the next 3 chapters. It's going to convey a little something if you're thinking it. You dig what I'm saying? Remember, the 2 most powerful weapons you have, but you must utilize them. It's patience and time. But it's what you do by utilizing patience in the time that you have. By sitting there believing that time is meant to be just set upon. That is not what it's meant. And your patience doesn't mean, well, I've got to increase it. No, patience, you establish it by doing things and mitigating in the time that you have. That's how you make them powerful. You mitigate the response by acclimating and utilizing. You see what I'm saying? Patiently doing something different and new to better yourself. And with the time that you have, there's no better time than the present. Those are 2 most powerful weapons you have. And you must litigate this with yourself and not just be sitting there going, well, I could just, because just putting it off for another time, that has nothing to do with the moment, and just may never come and happen. There is no just outside of you being the first responder, you taking the first initiative, and you taking the first steps, because that is the only way you're going to make anything possible. I appreciate everybody coming in. I'm going to give some shout outs, and I'm going to make something to eat. Oh, it's going to be banging too. I should have made it beforehand, but I didn't want to share that with you. Rhonda, what's happening? Mama Red, what's up, beloved? Mem Cart, what's cracking? What's going on, man? All right. Lloyd, what's cracking, brother? Gray Wolf, peace, what's up, beloved? All right. All right. Person, okay. Take it all in, but do the research. Moon Frey, what's going on, beloved? I hope I had that right, sis, if you're still here. If I didn't, my apologies. Hey, Richard Longwood, what's going on? Big Pontiac, greetings. What's cracking, brother? Good to see everybody in here. In South America. Yeah, I've been around the horn a few times. And we went out. We couldn't be close to the land, and it's funny how they always want everybody at night, like the ship closed up. Like, some of us had this watch where we had the whole flight deck roped off, and we had these big suits on, right? I mean, these suits with these, couple months with, class, so we clasp in and we crawl around with these big flashlights. Well, not big, but they're hooked to our sleeves, so we couldn't lose these flashlights. And we're talking about ice over the jets and everything, the helicopters. Like, we had to make sure all the tie-down changed, which they were doubled, not the regular 12-point, but 24-pointed, and with these powerful chains on the back to keep the jets from being taken by whatever was out there. We had to inspect them. I was a plane captain. It was 1987. I think we took the forestall, or 88 forestall around the horn. No, I wasn't plane captain, but I was one of the supervisors. Before I went to my shop, I had to go up. I had my watch, it's an 8-hour watch, people. And I had to go out there like any and everybody else. And there's 2 of us, and they watch us. There's plaque cameras and everything, deck cameras, the whole 9. And when I say waves coming up over a carrier, this is the USS Forrestal we took around to San Diego from Virginia. Yeah, Virginia, all the way around, doing ops and everything. All the way around the horn, hit a few ports, having a grand time. When I say I've been to South America, I mean, that's the only place. I mean, I've taken trips, went through Tijuana, stayed with a couple of friends of mine in Mexico, this, that, and the other. Chasing down some bloodline, you know what I mean? But, so, yeah, you know what I mean? I have this little lady on Instagram. She's always going at the flat earthers for those people in those parties. And she's talking about when she flew. So I said, let me go get a page, because, I was, back then, that's when I was paying the $75 every Friday or Saturday to go and learn how to fly a Cessna. $75. Private, family had, like several 8 of them, take people up, teach them how to fly. $75. So it became $125. And then, you get your solo flights and then credit it and get your full pilot license. So anyway, I know how to fly a Cessna. And before I was getting my last test, he could have gave it to me, the license, and I paid the amount for it. Doing the radio calls, everything, talking to the tower, which was the family. We had to go on the deck. We had a 2-month, and I came back and I was like, I know how to fly them shits. I'll never forget how to fly that. I ain't with the license. I wasn't going to go flying people around. Dumb, I could have done that. I could have chartered flights out of this place and that place and everything with a company. I was young. So anyway, I went to a page. I see nothing on there about being a pilot or anything. This is from the East liberal state. And then I realized, this is one of those. And so I looked at the arguments, and they were fictitious. There was no math, and no nothing. It's serendipitous of either somebody who's just being a troll or someone. And this is what I mean about low frequency. Oh, y'all ain't saying red. Sit or break. God dog it. Anyway, and I asked her. So I asked her just regular questions. You know. So who'd you fly? When'd you learn? Where'd you fly to? What you learn? When'd you when and where and how and you could, get your pilot license and where do you fly now and where have you flown? Because it was very funny to hear people talking about that. And when you learn how to fly, you know that you're supposed to keep the plane flying straight. There is no your perception is very short compared to how far you go, and you're flying straight, people. There's no countering or anything. It's just if you're flying for an hour this way, you're flying straight. There's none of this. So I just wanted to hear her stuff because I know how to fly a Cessna. So, and I know what pilots have told me. So, and I know what I've seen. So, I know looking through a Saxon over some 100 miles, a powerful one. At that, I'm not supposed to look through or know about. Seeing well over a few hundred miles. I'm talking about far and seeing a flotilla that you ain't supposed to see. So, I know she probably responded, and it's going to be some lamed up response. I'm not going to entertain it. Yet, around there, those oceans get destroyed. And when they say the triangle and all that, let me tell you something, man. When you get into a place that you ain't supposed to be, anything can come up out of nowhere at any time. You dig what I'm saying? Like at no time. All right? So keep an open mind. Remember, we're just entertaining something here. Even though that book is not romance, fiction, or any of that. All right? So we're just going to read it as I did before. Anyway, y'all have a grand day. I appreciate everybody coming in. I'm going to go ahead and sign off, get something to eat, and I'll see y'all in a little bit. You know I love y'all.